Welcome, everybody. I am calling to order this special meeting of the Board of Education. It is July 27th at 6:01. We are in the Nashua North Boardroom, and we are here tonight to hear from the people who are interested in filling our Board of Education seat. This is exciting. We have 23 people who put in their application. I'm just going to call everybody up alphabetical order, if you don't mind. I was going to have you sign in, but then everybody came all at once, and I figured it would be a free-for-all at the paper, so I'll just call you up by alphabetical order, if you don't mind. Okay? Does anybody, let's start off with roll call. I get really excited about this stuff and forget to do things like roll call.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Ms. Darling. Here. Mr. Claffey.
Here.
Ms. Giglio.
Here.
Ms. Raymond is here. Ms. Lampier.
Here.
Ms. Brown.
Here.
Ms. Johnson.
Present.
Ms. Bishop.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. We also have Dr. Andrade, and we have Attorney Steve Bolton from the city here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, so what we will do is I'm going to invite you down. I'm going to have you sit in the blue chair. It's a little less intimidating than standing at the podium. The microphones are hot and always on, so you don't need to be looking for a light. You can just sit down and start talking. Take a minute to catch your breath first if you want to. You'll have 3 to 5 minutes to chat. I will keep an alarm on my phone, so if we hit that 4-minute, 30-second mark and we haven't really wrapped up yet, I'm going to start guiding you to make a closing statement. Hopefully you've all come with something prepared and timed, so I don't have to be rude and interrupt you while we're trying to hear what you have to say. Any questions from the board or discussion or comments before we start? Ms. Johnson?
Yes, I have mentioned to you, I'd like, if they have any family members that work in the district or in the union, I think they should disclose it because we just updated our policy last night for voting, and I think it would be fair. It won't disqualify them, but we just know up front.
Is that okay to do? Attorney Bolton?
You can make your decisions based on any criteria that doesn't involve fundamental rights or protected classes. So if it matters to how someone votes, I guess it matters.
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me how I'm going to vote. I'm just looking at it. It's just that we just know,
Okay.
if they want to. They don't have
If
to.
people want to disclose that, you can. What I was going to say also is the board is going to refrain from questioning tonight, only because I think normally when we do interviews, we like to have structured questions. I feel like if we start kind of going in a roundabout wheel, asking people who are sitting at the chair, follow-up questions, we're giving you more time to speak to yourself, but also it's not as fair and organized. So I think we're going to discuss after we hear from you guys if the board wants to come back, convene, talk about candidates that we may have more questions for, and then decide maybe if we need to have another meeting and call people back and say we have some follow-ups. But we'll decide that at the end of the meeting. We may actually all have the information that we feel that we need once we've heard from you guys. How does that sound? Board.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so alphabetical?
It looks like Mr. Claffey had something to say.
Just to be clear, the candidates do not have to tell us whether they have any affiliation. It's up to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because just to be clear about the policy, we updated a policy. The policy says that if you have the potential of receiving a benefit from one of the unions, like, for example, a retirement benefit, that you should not be voting on anything regarding that benefit at the board level.
So can I
which
just ask,
historically, everyone's always been fine with that.
Yep.
so why do we need to know if they have a relative in the district, working in the district?
Because you shouldn't, it can be a potential conflict of interest if you're voting on contracts, too.
Doesn't the policy say the employee receives a benefit? It doesn't say about family members, does it?
I feel like we discussed this.
Okay, let's cancel that. I don't want to make a big to-do about anything,
Okay.
so we'll just forget about that.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we are going to start in alphabetical order. I have the list here. Again, help yourself to the blue chair. And first up, we're going to have Shawanda Daniels Williams. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So a quick tutorial on the microphone. It needs to be pointed directly at your mouth or else they won't pick it up on our recording and for the cable TV.
Thank you.
Great.
So first, I want to say thank you for your time and consideration. I know you have a lot of people to see tonight. As an active member of the community, I believe it takes members that represent the whole community and all the children of Nashua to make up the Board of Education. I am sorry to hear that the board member has vacated their seat during her term, but if elected, however, I believe that now, through the next term, I will provide the highest level of dedication and commitment to the students as well as the community, which is necessary to carry out fresh ideas. In watching the Board of Education meetings this year, the board has done a lot of great work. Thank you so much. I would love to become an active member. I can help support decisions already brought before the board, pivot when the board needs me to. I am here to support the greater good for all. I am committed to help support the new superintendent and retain good teachers in the months and years to come. I have volunteered to serve on the Board of Education to help create the advancements and the development the community is looking for in our students for them to display. I come from a hardworking family. Both parents were union workers. They are both happily retired now. Not in Nashua. I am a proud mother of 4.
He's excited.
My eldest daughter is an Air Force Staff Sergeant. I have a son that is second in line, and he's navigating Job Corps and adult life. And I also have 2 high school Nashua North students, and one now goes to Clearway. But I will be an ally to all children. I am extremely passionate and driven about the work that is done through the Board of Education. I'm committed to promote education and the community, and I have shown this personally by continuing to educate myself as a lifelong learner and being active in my community. I believe the saying, education changes the community. I have a long history of being involved in the medical and social work fields, which allow me to be open, objective on medical standards and all standards of care and prevention while still being goal-focused on good education. After going back to school to get my Bachelor's of Arts in Human Services with a concentration on child and family services, it has only deepened my commitment to the next generations. Working in social work here in the Nashua area, I'm glad New Hampshire was the first state in the nation to adopt the Choose Love SEL program, and that books were given out to show it in a tangible way. I want to help pave a way to a great future for the children here in Nashua, now and to come. I have an unshakable value system that governs how I treat and interact with all humans in the community. In closing, I would like to say our Nashua children deserve all the kindness and love that we can afford them through good public education. Thank you for this opportunity to share my passion with you tonight. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I like it.
Well, that was nerve-wracking, Yvette, to be the first, but thank you for doing it. Next, we have Roger Doucette.
Thank you. First of all, I mean, I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak in front of all of you. I don't have degrees in sociology or anything for kids, but I do have children that are in the Nashua School District. One has an IEP. So I look at it as what we should have is a board member with parent smarts, common sense, and looking out for, other things, And I would be looking for like the transparency. If parents have questions, they should be able to come to us at any time and ask a question without being absolutely ridiculed. I would believe in absolute zero tolerance in bullying in school, whether that's student versus student, student versus teacher, even teacher versus student. We've had a few of those issues, and we need to find out why. The other thing is that I would be looking for quality of education, not quantity. We have to stop pressuring our teachers to make a quota for school to teach. There's no need of that. Teachers are there because they want to teach, not be pressured to say, here's 50 assignments, you have 30 days to teach it. Not every child learns the same way. And we have to get off of that, of saying, okay, well, they're all A students, they'll all get through it. No, they don't. And I have taught kids through my job, through work programs. They bring kids from the high school. I've been teaching them automotive, so they learn how to use worth ethics and everything else. And the other thing is, I'm a former Marine myself and a firefighter, so I know what having other people's back is, But that would be how I would look at it. And like I said, I think the Board of Education should be made up of parents, even former teachers, principals, because they've had the education, they know what they're looking for. And that's about all I got to offer. I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Elberger.
Good evening. And as my two colleagues have mentioned, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I want to tell you a little bit about where I literally come from. All my grandparents emigrated to this country. For Jews, as for many others, America was the land of opportunity, a place where they and their children could thrive in ways that were impossible where they lived before. They knew that education was critical to make that happen. I attended public schools in New York from kindergarten through graduate school. I met children from my neighborhood in elementary school, throughout the city, in middle and high school, and throughout the state in college. My first college roommate from a small town near Buffalo had never met a Jew before. When we were discussing our backgrounds, she asked me where my horns were. I had no idea what she was talking about, and asked her where she had heard this. She said that all Jews had horns. This is what she had learned at home. Public education is supposed to be the great equalizer. We have a common curriculum, so there's a common base of knowledge, and get the same opportunity for our children to grow. We teach them to think for themselves so that when we are no longer around, they can function as productive adults. It's impossible to think for yourself if you are only exposed to one group of people or one way of thinking. If that is what we do to our children, then we will fail as parents. I earned a master's degree in counseling and personnel services and spent the first part of my professional career in the field of addiction treatment. I worked with people who used all sorts of drugs, legal and otherwise, and ran programs for people arrested for drunk driving. I had to listen to my clients and understand what they were telling me underneath the words they were saying. I had to help the groups I led to learn how to function together to support themselves and each other, in other words, to develop a community. I spent 6 years as a member of the Lexington School Committee, which is what they call them in Massachusetts. While there, I chaired a task force on special education, which include people whose views on the field were sometimes diametrically opposed to each other. We ended up creating a report that was edited by the entire committee to the last comma and signed off by everyone. I also chaired a superintendent search committee, the calendar committee, which is much more challenging than you might think, and took part in union negotiations. In these settings, I used my ability to bring people from many roles, parents, faculty, staff, and other community members, to a point of agreement, and even when nobody was completely happy, everybody accepted the outcome. Nashua is faced with some serious issues: lower standardized test scores, a shortage of teachers, especially in science, lack of computer access for many students, lower state funding, increasing numbers of English language learners without enough programs to support them, subjects that are considered divisive, increasing costs for special education, and staff who may not feel supported. We should recognize two things. First, most other school districts are facing the same issues. There may be some opportunities for collaborative work on some of them. Second, solutions will not be quick or easy to reach. We need short-term fixes as well as thoughtful approaches that will address not only current, but also future needs. One of the most important things I have learned is that there is always more than one right way to do something, and that there are many rights that need to be balanced. If you're lucky enough to have some spare money, is it more right to spend it on a vacation, replacing an old car, your own retirement, or your children's education? All of those things are right, and decisions as to which right to address vary by time and circumstances. Assuming there is only one right way to address an issue will result in fewer possible solutions and frustration because nothing seems to change. Together, we can figure out how to resolve these issues, and I hope to have the opportunity to be a part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to make sure, Caitlin Fahey-Pearl is not here, right? Okay. George Farrington, please.
Good evening. I am George Farrington. I have 12 years of experience on this board. In 8 of those years, I was voted board president. I've participated in every committee on the board. I've been involved in curriculum changes, contract negotiations, personnel matters, school renovations, and much, much more. I've had 4 children, or my wife and I have, better get that right. There are 4 children who graduated from the Nashua School District, and currently 3 grandchildren that are in the district, with more on the way. I've learned a lot about the district, education, and attempts at education reform over the years. In general, I've learned that improving education is only easy when you're criticizing from the sidelines. Of course, change for the sake of change is pointless, but if you have evidence your present course has hit its limits and you're interested in making the program better for the students, then things probably need to change. You don't want change to come too easily in any organization, but that isn't a problem here in the district. When you get involved, you learn about the philosophical, ideological, political, fiscal, and even emotional barriers that exist when you try to change things. I'll always remember sitting at a meeting one night with another administrative team. They just finished a presentation on a curriculum change, which the board thought was really great and would show a lot of improvement. And I asked when they expected to implement it, and the response was 2 to 3 years because they had to get teacher buy-in. While a 4-year term seems like a long time, this system can wait you out and survive attempts to change the programs. In fairness, I want to say that I've worked with many outstanding people in this district in every capacity, people who go above and beyond in every regard, and I consider friends. Some who have moved on, but I still communicate with. But just remember, saying Nashua schools are the best or we are the greatest doesn't make it so any more than anecdotal stories about a group of students and their accomplishments. There's no doubt that Nashua offers some great learning opportunities for the students and that many of them have great success. Dr. Andrade just the other night read a list of some of the schools where the latest graduates were accepted. The fact that 67% of the students are continuing their education in either 2- or 4-year schools is clearly a good thing. I'm concerned about the 31% who are not continuing, and I wonder how many more there are that didn't even graduate with their class. Regarding reading, I'm sure you've heard the saying, K through 3 learning, you're learning to read, or the students are learning to read, and beyond grade 3, you're reading to learn. At one time, this district had a goal, in fact, the only goal that the board could agree on, that all third graders would read on grade level by the end of the year. In the school year 2017 to 19, pre-pandemic, the New Hampshire statewide assessment system showed the following. The terminology does change, but third graders averaged 46% proficient in English language arts. Of the 4 classes that you could track over the 3 years that were represented, 3 of them declined in percentage proficient by as much as 10%. In math, the percent proficient over the same 3 years averaged in the mid-40s for grades 3, 4, and 5, and then fell to 30% range for 6, 7, and 8. I can hear the concerns now about the risks associated with high-stakes assessment, but the question is, risks for who? My question is, what are the risks in all subject areas for the student who struggles with reading? What happens to the student who struggles with basic math concepts? How does all this carry over and impact their lives? These are all things I've been thinking about over the last several days. As I watch this board, I don't get the sense that we have many similar viewpoints on these issues. And for that reason, as Mark Cuban would say, I'm out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's fine. Sean Rogers. If there's no objection, we've,
No, no
Okay.
objection, although I think he's adorable.
right?
Is he going to help come down and speak? Yeah.
Isn't this the witching hour for children? He's doing really well.
I was going to say, thank you for bringing him.
Yes.
I think that many of us have been in this situation where we've had our kids in the back row there, you know, doing their homework or playing on their cell phone or whatever, so.
Making votes right alongside us.
Right, right. Coloring in the corner. I mean, these things happen.
All right, well, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Like I said, my name is Sean Rogers, and, my remarks aren't, about this specific school district, but one thing that I don't really like about public education these days is how controversial it's become. That's all I really seem to hear about is complaint over complaint about vaccines, about guns and guilt and masks and mandates and medications, and about the sexualization of children who are too young to know what sex is. And for me, that's too much. And if it's too much for me, then it's much too much for them. And I think that's a real shame because there have actually been public schools in America for over 400 years in New England. And so you'd think, if anything, it would be as straightforward and as uncontroversial a thing as there can be. And, I don't think education is political. I don't think it's the realm of outrage and intrigue, not the domain of puppeteers and propagandists, and our children are not a battleground for greater powers beyond our community. Simply put, I think that education should simply be simple. And the reason for that is because we don't have anything to teach except for hard-earned knowledge and well-worn wisdom. Children must learn the skills they need to thrive and survive, the same now as it always has been. Boys must learn to be men, girls must learn to be women, and the both must learn how the world turns upon the gifts of each and the other. Aptitude, trust, and reliability are the necessary and sufficient means towards that end. And towards that end, we must be responsible for them. and to be responsible for them means to be responsible to them and to their parents and to the public at large. And so it falls to us to create that environment whereby we can, within the limits of our means, foster mutual trust and respect between parents and teachers and citizens and servants, so that our simple mission, our simple duty to give our children the strongest legs and the surest footing with which to bear the world for the benefit of all generations yet to come may yet be achieved. And so I'd like to submit myself for consideration to the board to perform that simple duty with humility, affability, and reliability. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your night.
Good night, little man.
Next, I'm looking for Kevin Flynn.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Just gonna open up. I knew I shouldn't have done electronics tonight because I knew this was gonna. I got a picture of my dog on my ice, but not my. There we go. My name's Kevin Flynn, as you know, I was announced. 49, just a little over 49 years living here in the city. When I submitted my letter of, we're indicating my interest, I did attach a resume, so I'm not going to go into my professional background as much. I'm hoping you all had an opportunity to take a look at it. So I'm just going to focus on some summary notes and some things that I just want to try to kind of give you a thought of, where my head was at when I stepped forward. So my wife and I raised 2 boys here in the city of Nashua. They're 36 and 38. Mr. Claffey, one of them was a student of yours many, many years ago. He says hi.
It can't be that old.
What I would say, though, is we always viewed education as parents as a partnership between us, the teachers, and the staffs at the schools they attended. It wasn't always just, we didn't say, hey, go educate our kids. It was a partnership, and we worked very closely. And as a result of that, we achieved some very, very good outcomes with our kids. They left the district, they graduated, they were well prepared for post-secondary educations. They both got engineering degrees from the University of New Hampshire. Fast forward to today, they're both parents, great marriages, we've got grandkids with them, and they've got amazing careers. And obviously my wife and I, had the role of, helping them grow and develop into who they are, but the Nashua School District, played an awful big part in that. And in my role, the company I work for, I'm involved in recruiting young professionals and trying to attract them to not only my business, the company I work for, but the city of Nashua. And a lot of them come to the opportunities with young families, and I say, hey, listen, you have nothing to worry about with the Nashua School District. I can speak from experience. If you're willing to put in the effort, as parents, you can get significantly excellent outcomes with the district. So again, I continue to be a proponent for the district. My professional background, again, I'm not going to go through it other than I've got some professional skills that I think dovetail very nicely into a role on the board. I've got significant background in budgeting and managing costs, managing very complex projects, negotiating contracts. I'm a director of procurement and subcontracts for the company I work for, so I've gotten pretty good at negotiating over the years. But the thing is that I think is one of my strong points, I'm very good at problem solving. Taking very, very complex problems and trying to come up with creative and innovative solutions to those problems, either through the efforts on my part, but more often through collaboration and leading teams to get creative and positive outcomes. One of the things that's really worked for me over the years, I know what I know, but I'm humble enough to know what I don't know, right? And in the areas that I don't admit that I'm strong in, I'm really good at collaborating and communicating with others to try to fill the gap in my education so I can come to an effective and thought out decision. And that's just the way I've rolled for many, many years, and it's something that has worked for me, and I would definitely apply that skill set here in this role if if I was able to be selected, right? So why, in terms of my resume, I talked about in my resume, you see my professional skills, but I've also got a strong background of volunteering in the city. I believe in the concept of stewardship. We all have the gift of time, talent, and treasure. I do what I can with my treasure, try to stretch it as much as I can, like we all do. But I also, try to do what I can with my talents and the time that I have. And it's something that's been instilled in me by my parents. And I tend to gravitate towards working with causes and groups that benefit kids and also benefit those in need, okay? And if you look at my resume, you can see some of the organizations. But I do have a history of volunteering in the school district. I volunteered as a tutor in the classrooms. I've been a part of, in the years and years back, we had a special committee that was pulled together to address a policy issue at the Nashua high school level. And I was asked to be part of that committee, and I think we worked through for a long time trying to get to a position, and we got to it, right? But I've also been involved in, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Chick-fil-A Holiday Basketball Tournament. I took that over from Nate Mazerow many years ago. I ran it for many years, and in the time in my leadership, under my leadership, I think we raised close to $100,000 in the years that I was involved in it. So I do have a history of when I get involved to make a difference. And I think if you had an opportunity to talk to the people that I've engaged with, they would echo that, hey, when Kevin's involved, generally good things come from it. So I would hope to bring that to the district as well. So,
Mr. Flynn, I just want to
okay.
do that rude thing that I said I was going to do, but we're bumping
So real
up
quick,
against.
why am I, just to wrap up, why did I step forward? Well, I saw the opening. Somebody's got to step up. I stepped up, okay? I think that I have the time, the skills, and the motivation to help the board and to do good things for the students, the families, the teachers, the administration. I am what I am. I come here with no agenda, no preconceptions. I just have a willingness to serve and share what I have to give with the board and the district. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Justine Gragonas? Did I say everything wrong?
No, Justine Gragonas.
Okay. I just like to put extra names in there.
I did bring a copy of my resume to pass around.
Thank you.
I made enough, though. Thank you.
It's okay.
All right. Hi. My name is Justine Gragonas, and I would first like to thank all of you for the opportunity to be considered as a member of the Board of Education here in Nashua. Let me tell you a bit about myself first. I've lived in Nashua pretty much my entire life, save for the 4 years I went to college, and I couldn't wait to get back once I graduated. Having been a Nashua resident my entire life, I did progress through the Nashua School District, going to Fairgrounds Elementary School, New Searles, Fairgrounds Junior High, and Nashua High. Being able to have had that experience and continue to live in Nashua, I have seen how the school district has evolved and changed over the years. And I was lucky enough to be one of the first classes ever to set foot in this building. And even more so, I was fortunate enough to have the pleasure of having Mr. Claffey as my U.S. history teacher. So thank you, Mr. Claffey.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Today, I sit before you, as a homeowner with a child of my own in the Nashua school system, and I find myself wanting to do more for the students that we serve and our community at large. My passion for this community does not come without my own experience as an educator. I've been formally teaching special education at Crest Collaborative in Andover, Massachusetts for the last 3 years, but have worked in the field in a variety of roles since graduating my degree in psychology in 2007. My formal teaching experience began just before the COVID-19 pandemic. Having had that experience teaching special ed, I have firsthand understand and empathize with the students and teachers. The students and teachers that lived through that, essentially. I understand the the experience of having to do virtual learning, of attending classes masked, of not knowing if we would come to school tomorrow because, hey, there was an exposure yesterday. Those were the worst 6 o'clock phone calls. These experiences have encouraged and developed our resilience as a community, and having lived through it together made us much stronger. Through those experiences, I have developed strong leadership and community building skills that have helped me become a leader in smaller communities. For instance, I'm the treasurer of the PTO at my son's school, and I'm a former Cub Master of the Boy Scouts of America. Being a member of the larger community has instilled in me a sense of collaboration and shared responsibility, which has opened my eyes to new ideas and different perspectives and given me the opportunity to grow personally and professionally. I've accepted new challenges at the request of supervisors and community members alike and have met or exceeded their expectations time and again. And you can call my references if you'd like. Being on the Board of Education is not an opportunity I take lightly. As board members, we have a responsibility to do right by our students, our faculty and staff, and the residents of Nashua. It is my understanding that the board's obligations include, but are not limited to, creating shared goals and expectations for the success of all of our students, remaining transparent in both practice and execution of decisions made by the board on behalf of the residents of Nashua, holding ourselves and all stakeholders accountable when serving in the best interest of all students, and providing opportunities for increased participation across all areas of academic and otherwise for all of our students. I have a variety of experience with curriculum, instruction, and assessment, as well as being part of hiring committees and onboarding new faculty and staff, including training. I've learned over the course of my career that as much as we think we may know, there is always more to learn. And we need to put that into practice. My ability to see the bigger picture, to identify the missing or ineffective components, has helped me develop the skills required to more effectively tackle complex issues in my classroom and in my personal life. I could be an asset in helping the BOE achieve their shared goals and helping support the mission and purpose of the school district. I would like to be part of the solution to help provide better education opportunities for all of our students, while simultaneously supporting our teachers, our faculty and staff, and paying respect to the residents of Nashua. I want to help strengthen our school district by holding ourselves and others accountable in achieving these shared goals. Many community members, including our students, see where Nashua has fallen short as a district. It is the responsibility of the BOE to help fill in these gaps. Some of the areas of concern that I personally have observed include enhancing our students' educational experience, retaining exemplar faculty and staff, effectively managing and maintaining our resources, strengthening the programs that we offer our students and staff, and enhancing public standing for our schools. If you select me as the 9th member of the Nashua Board of Education, I would like to help develop better relationships between the public, the students, the teachers, our district, and the school board. We are all on the same side, and we should be fighting the same fight so we can make progress as a district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, please come down, Steve Gertler.
Very good.
Good job. Finally.
We should, I swear, we should take that up here and like keep score of how many names we get right.
No, it would be my board of shame. Welcome, sorry.
Thank you. As you mentioned, my name is Stephen Gertler. Everybody calls me Steve. The only person that calls me Stephen is my father. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to be with you tonight and the consideration of being a part of the board. My qualifications are, I am the father of 2 students that graduated from this building, from Nashua North. The time that they were here was outstanding. It definitely prepared both of them for their college experience. As a matter of fact, my eldest son just is in the process of finishing up a master's degree in Arizona. It's hot there. So, but another qualification, or I think for me, is that adults have always invested in my life. From the time I was very young, I was thrilled to hear somebody just said about being in the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts or whatever it was, and those kind of things, remembering. But people investing in my life, and I believe in investing in the lives of the youth. And and because of my son, my eldest son, several years ago, while he was here, some of his friends challenged me to come and substitute teach, knowing that I had Fridays off. So I started substituting here at North on Fridays, and I enjoyed it. I realized that I wasn't a teacher, I was a substitute teacher, but the interaction with the students was very positive. The staff was great. But my interaction, back to my son's education, both of my sons, I always had contact with the counselors, always came to the meetings with them, and my wife and I always supported all of the staff. And both my boys played soccer here, and we enjoyed being a part of that as well. Also, through my interaction here with students, with the students, I had an opportunity to be with juniors and seniors a fair amount as a substitute. We had the idea to do SAT prep. So we were able to secure the funds and a place, and we did free SAT prep with a certified teacher of the standardized test, which was well attended. Students from here, a few from South. The kids even came from off the school district and came to be a part of it. Of course they would, because we gave them pizza partway through it. But as I had mentioned, my passion is for all of the youth. So part of my time, I've been in Nashua for 19 years, and part of my time here, I partnered with some of the elementary school principals, and because I had access to volunteers, and we helped them in their reading nights. We built a set of stairs over at Dr. Chris down to the field, and different things that we did, programs that once in a while we'll get a call and say, we have an activity coming, can you provide some volunteers? And a lot of times it would be high school students would go and participate with the elementary school kids, which was really a lot of fun for them. I've had 2 successful small businesses. I'm a small business owner, so I have that. And just in conclusion, as I had already mentioned, my passion for equipping our youth to succeed in life is what brought me here tonight. If my being on this board can help our youth succeed, then I'm willing to serve. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Starting to feel like Bob Barker up here. Alicia Houston, please join us.
Hello, I'm Alicia Houston. I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak today. I wanted to start by saying I don't have a fancy degree. I don't have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, but what I do have is a heck of a lot of life experience. I unfortunately, unlike some others, didn't know what it was like to have a very supportive upbringing with people and adults that were very supportive of you. So for me, part of the reason why I decided to put my hat into this ring, knowing full well that there's really a snowball's chance. You know, I ran for office, and it was a great learning experience. And I know that I have not necessarily done things the traditional way, but I like to refer to myself as a continuous work in progress. I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. That's part of learning and growing, and that's equally as important for kids, is embracing those mistakes and allowing them the opportunity to become who they are. So some of the things that I bring to the table is honesty. I'm honest to a fault. I have no poker face. I always try to be as transparent as humanly possible, even if it's not popular opinion. That's one of my biggest strengths and my biggest weaknesses. It's an area of opportunity for me. One of the other things that I think I haven't heard anybody mention is you have to have a thick skin to be on a board, especially nowadays. And that's something that I definitely feel that I embody, is the ability to stand true to my convictions or the convictions of other people that are asking me to do something or to make something happen or to advocate for something. And I do that unwaveringly. I'm committed to the community. I've proven that with a number of different opportunities that I have thrown my hat into the proverbial ring. One of the biggest reasons why I'm here today is because my youngest son told me, if you don't do it, if not this, then what? If you don't put your name in the hat, then what will you do? Because it's something that I'm very passionate about. Unfortunately, my kids have to listen to it all the time. But I also bring ingenuity and creative solutions. You have to be, in this world and the world that we live in with education, you have to be able to ebb and flow with things. And part of that is, it may not be popular opinion, and it may be something where you have to work on your negotiation skills, like others have mentioned. I know that in the past I have taken a very aggressive approach. I learned from that. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting here, I'm saying it because I watched those replays 1,000 times over and turned red in the face and told my kids that they have to turn the TV off. So I fully understand that my approach previously was not what it needed to be. But like I said, I've learned. Some of the things that the district needs right now that I've noticed is wise budgeting, being able to have a creative solution for the best way to spend the money that's in the best interest of the students in the community. Special education is near and dear to my heart. I have a child with a IEP and I have a child with a 504. So I went through the process as somebody who did the remote learning and has walked through the very difficult process, unfortunately, that Nashua currently has. I'm not afraid to say things the way that they are, because there are great areas of opportunity for us to improve on, especially when it comes to the special education community. Students and staff need stability. And that's something that I feel that they haven't had for the last few years. And we really need to embody that and push for the stability for not just the students, but for the teachers as well. Creating that line of open communication where everyone isn't against each other and we're finally coming to a place where we're working together. That brings me to effective communication, not just communicating to hear ourselves talk, but communicating to hear what the other person has and listening with the intent to understand instead of listening with the intent to respond. No more politics on the board. I know that a lot of people that I talked to when I threw my hat in, and again, full transparency, said, Alicia, you don't have a snowball's chance. There's no way, because you have an R next to your name in your voter roll. And the last point is focusing on bullying and the safety and security of the students. We have a big bullying issue here, and we need to all be working together, if I'm appointed, to creative solutions to make all of the students and staff and everyone feel safe again. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Rob Johnson. Please come down and join us.
We've reached the portion where we have former candidates. So, my name is Rob Johnson. I was a candidate in the previous election for the Board of Education. Didn't win, but that's okay. I've lived in Nashua since 2008. We actually moved here due to the school system. We heard good things. My brother had lived here a while, and he had recommended it, especially the New Searle School District, which both my kids went through, and amazing school. They did amazing things with both my kids. My oldest has been an IEP. He just got off it recently as a rising junior, but really the school system worked tremendously with us, with his special education, to reach this point. He's an honor student, and I just thank the school every day that we were able to get to where we are now. As I said, I moved here in 2008. I previously was a college administrator in New York City, where I was the student activities coordinator. Part of my job there was mediation between students and staff or teachers. So I do bring experience being a mediator, being a listener, being someone who can take two different sides and listen to both of them and try to find a solution, which I do think is very important in a board and in our current atmosphere. After coming here, I was on the New Searles PTO for 7 years as the publicity coordinator, and I also run my own business as a graphic designer, focusing in packaging design and branding. I've done some local logos. If you ever go by the Rise Dance Studio, that's my work. Again, I just hope to come to the board and bring my knowledge, my sense of working out problems, my sense of trying to achieve a middle ground or at least a fair solution that all sides can maybe not agree on, but can see that it'll benefit the students and teachers and the residents of Nashua. I wish you luck in deciding, because I've heard a great many people who I would choose. So it's a very difficult decision, and I wish you the best of luck, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn LaHero, I guess, has withdrawn.
I did receive a message from her that she asked if I could share, if nobody minds. Lynn has written, "There are multiple things happening with my family and friends. The last bit of terrible news, which happened today, is preventing me from being able to speak tonight at the BOE. Unfortunately, I'm withdrawing my interest at this time. I'm so sorry." And Lynn, if you're watching, I hope nothing but the best for you and that things improve for you soon.
Thank you. Next is Joseph McIntyre. We're extremely formal down here.
Right. And I have a copy of one. And before I start, I just want to say, Mrs. Thompson, I don't have any...
Wait, we can't.
Wait,
Yeah, we need you to sit at the mic. Yep.
Sorry. Before I start, I just wanted to say, Mrs. Johnson, I understand your question earlier. This is fine with me. I don't have anyone in the school system now. My daughter, Jessica, did work in the school system for a good run as a special ed administrator, and she's now a assistant principal in Drake at Mass. Very proud of her.
I'm sure we were very lucky to have her here. Thank you.
I think so. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Hello, I am Joseph McIntyre. I live at 40 Roy Street. I've been a Nashua resident for almost 55 years. I attended Nashua Public Schools from 3rd grade through high school, and I also received my bachelor's and MBA from New Hampshire schools. I'm 63 years old. I'm retired, and after 41 years at high tech. I've been married 38 years, consider myself to be the happiest husband, the proudest dad of 2 grown-ups, 1 beautiful grandson, and a loyal Shih Tzu named Kevin. Before I start, I want to thank Mrs. Ziem for her service to Nashua, and thank you to you, the National School Board, for your current service. If you get the time to reread my letter of interest, you'll see that I once served a term on the Board of Education and once on the Board of Aldermen. On the Board of Aldermen, I finished the final year of my ward alderman, who was sent to jail rightfully. But I'm not here to speak about the past. It was quite a while ago, and things in Nashua have changed mostly for the better. I do want to say also, because I noticed Mrs. Newman is here, Sue Newman, I worked on the board with Sue Newman. She is absolutely one of the greatest public servants Nashua's ever had. I believe you have a tough task ahead of you as we fight inflation, higher interest rates, and hopefully not a true recession. I put my name in because I have previous local government experience, life experiences, and unique skills from a long work career. I'll be a good teammate to you. I'll help carry out the district's mission for our city and staff and our 10,000 students in 19 schools. Because of this, I believe the learning curve for me on the Board of Ed will be short. The effectiveness of the Board of Education, to me, is dependent upon each member knowing that it's the board that matters and counts. It's not the board member's private or public agenda. You'll not see me trolling on Facebook, Instagram, letters to the editor, or any partisanship. I will strive to see only the issues and how we can help work them. I'll work on building consensus, striving for mutual concessions. I will try to remember to listen at least twice as much as I talk. I will do my issue prep, and I'll show up. In my years on both boards, I never missed a single board meeting or a single committee meeting, and that was before Zoom. 3 areas which I would hope to address as a board if I could. One would be renewing and assuring that our schools are trained for disaster events or violence. No matter how well we think we're prepared today, the enemy strikes at night, as they say, and I think we should make sure that we're always ready. Finding trusting ways to tap the expertise of our staff and the NTU for change management that addresses continuous improvement. I do not see the NTU or any other union as a competitor to keep score or beat up during every negotiation cycle. We are all in this together. Our district employees are the true source of innovation and ideas, so let's use those raw smarts. After all, as they say in my old job, they're closest to the customer. Thirdly, and obviously, prepare for the McCarthy School and the tough work to issue a fair redistricting plan. I did that when I was on the board on Pennachuck. I know what it's going to be like. To conclude, at my age and stage in life, I want to use the knowledge that I've learned from my experiences. I don't know all the issues. I surely don't have all the solutions. What I do have is an ability to help guide and synthesize what I learned. I also pledge not to run in the next election. I believe an appointed member should not be given the advantage of incumbency. Let those who won their elections have that. I only care about how I can serve and to try to do it with integrity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, to join us, Harry Meehan. No? Mr. Meehan?
Okay.
Okay. Dorothy Oden, please join us.
Thank you. First, could I have a moment to address Ms. Johnson's issue? Yes, I understand why you asked that of that, and I think there are times when there can be a conflict. I will say right up front, I have 2 children, went through the Nashua School District. One chose to go into engineering, and my daughter chose to go into teaching, which thrilled me as a career teacher. She does work in the district, and so does her husband. I have never sat in negotiations. I have never asked anybody about negotiations because that would be a conflict. So I want you to know, I thought that was valid, and I think you have to be careful when you're on the board that you don't have a conflict. So I just wanted to address that and be straightforward with you. Thank you, Ms. Oden.
Thank you. Thank you.
First, thank you for holding this forum for all of us who submitted a letter of interest in the vacancy left by the resignation of Sandra Ziem. At this time, I'd like to thank Sandra, my former colleague, for her many years of service to the district as a Board of Education member. Having worked in the district as a para and a teacher while recently completing 8 years as a member of this board, after my retirement, I feel I have the knowledge, the background, experience, and understanding of the district to quickly become a contributing member of the board. I am retired, so can be available during the day for possible interviews, negotiations, and other board business. I care about our district.
Although it is the second largest in the state, it seems much smaller when you work here. I have been part of this district for many years and want what is best for our students, staff, and families in these challenging, very challenging times. I'll get right to the point. Nashua desperately needs stability. While we also need to attract and retain good people, without stability, that task becomes much more challenging and difficult. A Pennachuck Middle School teacher spoke at a board meeting a few months ago and said she does not feel that Nashua has had real stability since Joe Giuliano was superintendent. I completely agree with her. Joe followed Dr. Massey's 22-year tenure with his own 10-year superintendency. 2 superintendents in 32 years. Times have changed, and we might not ever see that again, but we must do better than we have in the past 17 years since Joe retired. In those 17 years, we have had 6 superintendents. 4 of them were here for less than 2 years. One of the 6 had a 7-year tenure, during which he hired our current highly qualified CFO, Dan Donovan. Dan Donovan is the real stability in our central office administrative team at this point. He has a deep understanding of the district's finances and always has the best interest of our district as his priority. Now we have a new superintendent, Dr. Mario Andrade, who I would like to support as he works to improve the district and build stability. In closing, let me say that I do not have any political party affiliation, as I am a registered independent. I have never accepted money from any person or organization in the 3 elections when my name was on the ballot. As a very recent board member, I think I would be an excellent choice to fill this opening. Thank you all for your consideration of my application. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next to join us is Colin Principe. Did I say it right? Awesome.
See,
Whew. Maybe we should be keeping score tonight.
Hi, good evening. One of the advantages of having a last name is you get to do a lot of listening. Having P is my last name. You know, I was very nervous coming here originally to speak, and so I am very thankful for this opportunity. During the past over an hour, I have been very impressed by the level of interest and caring by all the candidates who've spoken this evening, and I just want to take a minute just to recognize everyone who has come. I think that it's very easy to criticize from the outside. I think it's a lot more difficult to put yourself up and say, I want to be a part of the solution. So congratulations to everyone, and I feel genuinely honored to be a part of this distinguished group here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Colin Principe. I am a resident of Nashua. I've been here for 12 years. A lot of people don't know that I am an immigrant to the United States, so I chose this country and I chose this community, and I have been very happy to be a member of the Nashua community for these past 12 years. During my time here, I have volunteered with Nashua Community Emergency Response Team, the CERT team, and made some charitable donations to Margaret's Place and the YMCA. I have 2 children in the Nashua school system at present. My son is currently attending Fairgrounds Elementary, and my daughter will attend Fairgrounds Middle in the fall. So very excited about that, and I feel that you know, as a parent, that it's good to have a parent's perspective on the board. I feel that it is important for board members to consider the needs of all parents in the community and all students in the community. And I feel very lucky to live in the district that I do. At Fairgrounds, we have an extremely diverse group of parents and students there. And if elected, appointed, I should say, my goal will be to serve all parents and students to the best of my ability. Todos los padres, todos los niños. Education is something that's very important to me. While attending university, I studied with the goal of becoming a high school teacher. Unfortunately, I didn't get that opportunity, but I did get some volunteer experience going through university. I'm also the first member of my family, my immediate family, to obtain a university degree. In my professional career, I've had several management roles with both financial and personnel oversight. And basically, sorry, I'm going off speech a little bit, I apologize. I think that Nashua's school district has done a great job given the number of challenges that it has had to face over the past years. We've had to deal with the pandemic. We've had to deal with a dramatically changing community. And through it all, the district has approached its work with kindness, with energy, and with a goal of ensuring that our children can be successful. And by joining the board, my goal is to help continue that success. I want to work with everyone on the board, work with all the parents, all the teachers, all the students, to help continue the success that they already have and to achieve even greater heights than they already have. I want to prepare all our students for life in the 21st century, as sophisticated and as challenging as it is. I think we have a great team here already, and I hope that I can bring my skills to the table and help this board achieve further success. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you. Can Kristen Prinn join us?
I'm going to start by thanking everyone. As others, listening to everybody that's spoken before me, I hope I can make a good impression. First, I would like to acknowledge the fact I know there's a few of us who had run. I was one of the people who initially had gathered my ballots and wanted, not my ballots, my petitions, and wanted to be on the ballot. But I did take a step back last year due to letting other people run. So for me, doing this isn't taken lightly. This is something I've been thinking about doing for a really long time. I really do want to serve. And I'm very grateful that we're doing this format so that everybody can be heard. This decision to enter my name for consideration did not come lightly at all. I can just mostly speak to my qualifications. I didn't bring a resume, but I can provide one if you need it. As a candidate, I'm qualified, I feel, to bring a unique perspective to the board because I have been working with children in some capacity for almost 30 years. Immediately out of high school, I started working for the military. I grew up in a military town. I worked in the preschool there, and that's where I decided to follow a career into education. I worked my way through college by also working as an assistant at a Jewish community center, working in preschool and school-age children. I went to the University of Pittsburgh. When I graduated, I have 2 master's degrees in education. The first is in elementary education, and my second master's degree is in early childhood students with special needs. I started my teaching career in East Los Angeles. I worked there for 4 years, learned a lot about what it's like to work in an urban community. I also did my student teaching in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, working in one of the poorer areas of the city. And since 2001, I have been a teacher in Massachusetts. I worked in Acton for 4 years, and I've been in Andover since 2004. So I have a lot of experience as an educator and as a parent, and I really feel that I bring a unique perspective. I understand what it's like to be a working parent. Education is my passion. Like I said, I've been doing this for a very long time. I've worked my whole life to be good at education, working with children. As far as my other qualifications, my master's thesis actually was on best practices for our response to intervention. I do have my sheltered English immersion certification, so I understand what it's like to work with children whose English is not their first language. The past 2 years as an educator have been 2 of the most difficult years that I have ever taught. So I understand what the students went through. I lived it as a parent. I lived it as an educator. I feel that as a board member, I would want to be a part of a team who could help support both students and educators because they're our most important resource. I have a huge amount of respect for everyone in the district that has helped my family. I have a daughter who has graduated from Nashua North. I have a son who is currently entering 4th grade here at Bicentennial, and it's been just so nice to see the support system, and I would want to be a part of a group of people who can help support and make education better here in Nashua. I am a person who, I also very believe that education, a good, strong, solid education is a way out and a way up. I was with a single mother, very poor, grew up in a small town, and I knew at the time that education was important. It's part of why I went into education as well. And I would like that for all of students here in Nashua. I do believe that teaching is just very important. Sorry, I'm losing my spot. I'm nervous. I am, again, as I mentioned before, as a parent, I'm forever grateful to the hard work of all the district employees at all times, especially in the last 2 years. What I can bring to the board is a great knowledge of curriculum and education. It's something that I've studied and worked on for many years. I've worked with students, with special needs students, students who have come from trauma. I really do believe that an education can help children. My only weakness as a candidate is that I'm not knowledgeable on the high school or middle school curriculum, but that would be something that I would be very willing to grow and learn and understand, because I'm going to have a son that's going to be going into middle school in a couple years anyway. Yes, I guess that's it. I guess I can just stand on my qualifications, and again, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next to join us is Suzanne Rack. No? Okay. We already did Mr. Rogers. Peter Thompson, please come down.
I want to echo what Colin had said about all the good folks who are here tonight. I can only hope that all of Nashua is listening. I think they would feel they're in good hands. I am Peter Thompson. I'm grateful for the opportunity to apply for the vacant position on the Board of Education, as well as to introduce myself and share with you my experiences in education, both as a parent and as a teacher. My wife, Lee, and I moved to Nashua in 1989. We have one daughter, Allison, who attended New Searles Elementary School, Fairgrounds Middle School, and finally Nashua High School South. During those early years, I volunteered in Allie's classroom, I tutored, I served on a committee, and my wife and I ran the pizza night several times. We really got to know the New Searles community. We had an overwhelmingly positive experience with Nashua School District. Allie was a beneficiary of excellent teaching, rigorous programs like the Gifted and Talented REACH program, and numerous AP classes. These invaluable resources allowed her to flourish. She was selected as New Hampshire's representative to the United States Senate Youth Program in Washington, D.C., and she later went on to Wellesley College. We will always be grateful to Nashua. We will always be grateful to Mrs. Coffin in kindergarten and Mrs. Keene, all the way through Miss Gabriel and Mr. Audley in high school. Their names are never far from us. In the early 1980s, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in accounting from Boston University, and I spent a decade managing real estate in the supermarket industry. I was then, after that, a stay-at-home dad with Allison for her first 8 years. During that period, based upon all of my volunteering efforts at New Searles, I went to graduate school at night and I received a master's degree in elementary education. I became a teacher in 2004 and working in the Merrimack School District. I taught 6th grade for 16 years and even spent an early year teaching 2nd grade. I quickly learned that children come to school from a variety of situations with differing abilities, needs, and challenges. It was an eye-opener. I remember introducing a story to my 2nd graders and learning that some kids had never seen the ocean. It stopped me in my tracks, as I wouldn't have guessed it possible. I learned that we all don't share the same background knowledge and experiences. There were many blind spots that I would realize that I had. At the heart of my instruction all these years has been preparation, patience, communication with children, families, and my administrators, but most importantly at the heart of my instruction was kindness. We just don't know what is going on in the minds and homes and lives of these children, and similarly in the lives of our coworkers. I've come to better understand how enormous challenges like poverty and trauma, or something as seemingly trivial as an unkind word, can impact a child's ability to learn. I've witnessed the challenges that social media and phones present to education. I'm especially concerned with the dramatic rise in anxiety and depression, especially among girls. What occurs in society inevitably enters the classroom. Sadly, the decline in civil discourse among adults is sometimes repeated by the students. Modeling good manners is an essential duty for educators. Last year, I decided to reduce the scope of my duties, and I became a paraeducator, primarily working with children with autism. It was an enormously satisfying and illuminating experience. I learned so much from my colleagues, and especially from the amazing kids. It opened my eyes to a community I hadn't known before, and it made me think deeper about our societal obligation to them and their families. I don't have a formal philosophy of education, but I have some thoughts and concerns to share. We're in a world that increasingly prizes brain power. Our students will face global competitors that simply weren't around when we were young. Literacy and numeracy are foundational skills, along with a whole host of others. I'm especially concerned with our students' ability to ascertain facts about the world. What are credible sources of information? Given the rapid pace of societal change, I think it's essential that when these children are adults, they are adaptable and able to learn what is necessary for them to flourish. What happens now in Nashua provides that foundation. Additionally, it's important that they have a sense for how they learn best. It's really impossible to overstate how consequential education is. We have to get it right. I hope I've provided you with a sense for who I am and what matters to me. If selected, I'll bring to the board a wealth of educational experiences, enthusiasm, a positive attitude, and a willingness to listen and learn and share. Additionally, I will be mindful that we owe the taxpayers of our city our best efforts as they are funding this endeavor. You may well select someone who is better qualified, and that's fine. That's how it should be. This position should go to the person who can contribute to the most to this most vital project. Thank you for all your tireless work. I can't imagine how you successfully coped with a pandemic, the planning of a new middle school, staff shortages, budgets, and everything else, large and small, that comes across your desk. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rosemary Torres, can you join us? Go ahead. Yeah, take a beat.
Yeah.
It's nerve-wracking up here.
A little bit. Good evening, and thank you really thank you for having us tonight. My name is Rosemary Torres, and I ran for the National Board of Education last election. To give you a little bit of my background, I was born in the Dominican Republic and have lived in Nashua since I was 8 years old. My family and I had moved to the States, and when we moved to Nashua, I started attending the Nashua Public School district in the 3rd grade as an ESL student. So I actually learned English through the system at Lead Street School. I'm a proud graduate of the Nashua High School South. Back then it was only one, the class of 2000. And before that, I had actually attended Elm Street School as well. In high school was actually where I met my husband my sophomore year. We have been married for 20 years and have 3 children. Our 2 daughters are currently in the Nashua School District. One is going to be a 7th grader at Elm Street. She's already completed 1 year. Phew. And my younger daughter is going to be a 5th grader at Birch Hill. So this will be her final year there. And then we have our son who's going to start kindergarten at Birch Hill in the fall. I have been involved with the Birch Hill PTO since my oldest was in the 1st grade. I served as PTO president for the last 4 years, prior to that vice president, and prior to that treasurer. And I will continue to do so, seeing as how I have 6 years there remaining. I'm also a realtor in the area, and my husband and I are business owners in Nashua. I graduated from the National Chamber of Commerce Leadership Greater Nashua, class of 2018. And I am also, for the past, this will be my 3rd year now, a troop leader for my Girl Scout troop. My husband and I are both very active members in the community, servicing on numerous boards, and for myself, that includes the YMCA of Greater Nashua. As you can see, I'm fully vested in the community. I ran for the Board of Education because I felt the board needed a good representation and a good representation of this wonderful community and this diverse district. I care about our children in this community. Otherwise, how could I, throw my name out here a second time? I commit to looking for the best interests of all stakeholders in this district, AP students, athletes, special ed, and of course, ELL. I have experiences on being on other boards. I hear many perspectives and work collaboratively and respectfully with others. I have seen how the decisions made on a committee level and a full board level have a financial impact and a member experience impact at the Y. Obviously, we all know that this district is currently facing many challenges and is going to face many challenges to come, so I hope to be able to be part of the solution. As PTO president, I have shown the skills needed to work together for the common good with many different board members, volunteers, administrators, and teachers. I believe I can bring those skills and work together with many different personalities and perspectives on this board as well. Being a realtor requires being able to represent and work for your client. It shows strength in listening, giving perspective, providing clear expectations, negotiating and collaborating with others to get the job done. I believe all of those qualities are ones I can bring to the table by being a member on the Board of Education. As a business owner, I understand that tough decisions, even though they may not be the easiest or the friendliest, need to be made. And as a role of VP of Finance, I understand how budgets work and how numbers need to add up to work for, need to add up and work for the bottom line. I feel I can do a lot of good, and I can bring new perspective given my background. And I, if appointed, promise to come to the table willing to listen, compromise, respect, and collaborate to support our students and our teachers. I know that I can be an ambassador for the ELL community and the entire parent community to the board, and to be an ambassador to the ELL community on behalf of the board. And once again, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Que tengan buenas noches.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter Uliano, can you join us? Nope. Okay. Rhonda Vitigliano? No? Okay. Colleen Ward Scott?
Good evening.
Hello.
Wow, it's hard being last. After hearing all of that, it's hard being last. But thank you, for having me. And I promise I will be very short. So thank you all for allowing me to come and speak to you. My name is Colleen Ward Scott. I have been a resident here in Nashua for over 30 years. And I have also been a nurse in this community for about 35 years. So I have a long history in a lot of ways in the city and in the community. So as you looked over my resume, I hope you noticed that my career is a life of service in this community and others. As a nurse and a mother, I have unique experiences that can benefit the children and families here in Nashua. I've dedicated myself to helping my colleagues, patients, and clients achieve health and wellness. As I said, I have unique experiences. I worked for Head Start as the health coordinator, working closely with the education coordinator to provide low-income families with the best the program had to offer in the Lowell area. As a mother, my children spent all of their school years in the public school as I was room mom, reader and math tutor, assistant to the school nurse, and a PTO fundraiser chair. I'm very vested in this community, and I'd be happy to serve more. I'm hoping to bring all the years of experience I have to this board for the betterment of this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that brings us to the end of our list. Thank you all so much for coming and joining. Did I miss anybody before I start? Okay. I just want to thank everybody for coming. This has been an amazing experience to see how many people are dedicated and are interested in serving on the board. Especially, I'm sure you guys have all been watching. It feels pretty thankless sometimes. So it's very nice to see people who, even in this climate, want to come up and continue to help. So I'm very grateful to all of you. I'm really bummed that we only get to pick one. But I'm going to turn it over to my fellow board members if they have anything else to say. If not, I will give instruction for what will happen next. Ms. Regan, Ms. Lampier?
I just wanted to say that I enjoyed hearing all of you tonight, and since we can only pick one, I hope that the rest of the speakers tonight will continue to put themselves out there and be of service, because I know that Nashua needs people like you. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. So one of the things that we wanted to discuss as a board was if we wanted to be scheduling another meeting, if we had follow-up questions for anybody. I don't feel like I have any follow-up questions. Does anybody else?
No.
No?
I don't know yet. I mean.
So I'm just hesitant about not having this conversation now because I don't want to do the emails to set up a new meeting.
I think it's kind of hard because we just heard, around 20 people, all their passion and why they want to be on the board. Because I look at everybody here, whether you ran or you didn't run, nobody's a loser here, everybody's a winner because everybody came here because they want to give a piece of their time to serve on this board.
Yes.
And so, listening to everybody, and people saw I was taking notes. You know, I'm going to go home, digest this is a lot. And then I might have some questions. And I think really as board, we're probably going to have several people that we're going to have names on who we'd like to see on the board. And then we're going to start paring it down. So I don't know. I think maybe we just say we might need another board meeting next week before Wednesday. I don't know. I know I'm not available Monday night. I know
What
that.
do we have on the schedule for next week already?
Just Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday at 6 for this purpose, right?
If
for a
somebody
special
has
meeting.
questions, can't they reach out to the candidate who spoke?
That was my original idea, was if any of us had any follow-up questions for anybody who had presented, they could call them. But I was also thinking that one of the things that makes us a great board is we have an element of some thought diversity, and sometimes we ask questions that other ones don't think about. So,
is there a way that we could share the responses without?
It's right to know.
I don't think so.
It seems like it's Paula who has kind of more of this stuff. Why don't you?
I actually would love if we could hold off just a little bit, if only because while watching everyone speak, I was also watching my fellow board members and audience members, and I gotta say, you guys make some funny faces when you don't realize you're being watched. So, I mean, I'd kind of like to be able to go back and see if I missed anything that anyone said and make sure that I'm making really the most educated possible decision I can.
You see, it's
So how
not
about
always just Ms.
if you have-
Johnson.
If you have follow-up after you've marinated in all of this information, reach out to me and I'll email everybody here if you guys have follow-up questions that you feel need to come back to the board, and we can invite them back and they can come for the next meeting.
Because, I'm sorry, the plan for the next meeting, that agenda is nominations for electing someone to fill the
Yep.
position. Okay.
So
With the hope that someone could onboard quickly and be up and running before school
right.
starts?
If we go past the 60 days, we miss our opportunity and we're down a board member until the next election.
Okay.
So,
No, I'd really like to have somebody in and
Yeah.
not spend 15 months without somebody,
yeah.
or 16, 17 months.
Looks like Mr. Claffey had something to say.
Sorry, Mr. Claffey.
I thought we were voting next Wednesday.
That was the
Now it's
original,
changing.
the original point was listen to everybody tonight.
Yep.
And then come back next Wednesday after we've thought about and maybe reviewed our notes, whatever the video is, come back and vote next week. But we're hearing that there may be some follow-up questions.
So to be safe, should we just push back the calendar that the public sees says, I think doesn't it say election?
So I don't want to push it out because
60 days.
I'm
Well-
worried about vacations and quorums, and we know we're all set next week, so.
I feel like if there are extra follow-up questions that need to be asked, would there be any possible way to draft a list of whatever questions we come up with and let the individual know, have them email in separately to the board, so that way everybody gets it, but we're not having communication, like
That's
full
what I was thinking
conversation?
too, like if you had a question, you could email, because we all got the same
Yeah.
emails. You can throw it out to everybody and then, no, I don't like that.
You would have to go to
Because then the public
Tara.
doesn't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make a decision based on information that not everybody has access to. Ms. Johnson?
Wouldn't you go to Ms. Kinsella and ask her to email it out, and this way it goes through her, and then it becomes open, and it doesn't look like we're running a meeting? It's going through Central.
So if we did that, we would want all of the answers to our questions back with enough time to have it posted as notes for the meeting, so the public could have access to it too.
So we'd have to have the answers
before Sunday.
3 days in advance at least, so the
Okay.
questions would have to be out.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if we get whatever, how long is it on average that we have for notice for special meetings?
So
I know that Tara's awesome, and like you guys usually get them scheduled
law
way
is-
out, but
The law is 24 hours notice to schedule a meeting. We try and do everything typically the Friday of the week before. So by Friday afternoon, you should have your packet with all the meetings for next week. Every now and then, something pops up where we can't give more than 24 hours notice.
so I wonder if any of our candidates would be opposed to, if they get any follow-up questions, responding within 24 hours, since that is part of the job, is responding. I don't know if that would make sense for anyone.
Ms. Julia, sorry.
I'm blocking, I'm sorry.
I know, I really want to sit over there from now on, because this is,
I'm often in the minority, and I guess I might be right now, but I carefully read through all of the emails and applications, whether they included resumes or not. I read them about a week ago. I read them again today.
Yes.
And I felt that the presentations tonight were amazing. I personally do not have any more questions for anybody. And I just want to put that out there because that's how I feel.
And
I agree. Mr. Claffey?
are we, I mean, the aldermen managed to have their conversation, and I'm not comparing.
I know.
Are we prohibited from
It
having
feels
a
like
vote
you are,
tonight
though.
if a motion is made to have the vote tonight?
Nope, we can't have the vote tonight because it has to say on the agenda, nomination of. And that is what Attorney Bolton told us at the last meeting, so we do have to have it on the agenda, and that's what we have next week set up for.
And I think frankly, it seemed, I mean, I know the aldermen did it in one night, but they only had 3 people at the end of the day who were interested. So, and we had 17 tonight. I just didn't think, and we started out with 23 or 24. I didn't think we'd have time.
I just thought everyone's here. It'd be nice to let them know
I would love to do that, but.
while they're here.
So, Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, the Board of Aldermen and the Board of Education are like apples and oranges. I mean, you're dealing with 2 different situations here. And the only reason, I read everybody's resume, I read everybody's letter. What you have on paper and listening to them, the voices and the compassion is totally different than on paper. And so now, like I said, I got to kind of digest with my notes, seeing and probably listening again. I want to make it fair, transparent, and give everybody that opportunity. That's why I'm saying I want to, think if I have some questions.
I have an idea. If you have a question, or if any of us have any questions for anybody, we email them, and then we can read our question and their response at the next meeting.
Sounds good. If that's the way it's going to work.
I love it. I think that's the easiest way of doing it, because we're going to be discussing, why we would be going a certain way. I'm hoping we're able to have that discussion, and in that discussion, we can present the new information that we've received. You guys are whispering over there?
You did not miss anything.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay, so what we'll do is if you have questions, if you have follow-up questions, reach out to the individual person interested, and then present that information back to us if you feel that it needs to be shared with the rest of us. But what we will do, we will think about this. We will take into account everything that you guys have said to us. Again, I am so immensely happy that we have so many people interested in making our students' lives and our teachers' lives even that much better. And I just want to say, it was amazing the amount of positivity that was in this room. That was fantastic too, so I appreciate it. Does anybody else have anything that they want to add before we adjourn?
I just have a question. So if people do reach out and ask questions, we're going to share the responses for those a week from tonight on August 3rd?
Yes.
And that is also the night still that we are hoping to nominate and come to a decision.
Right. And as you're presenting the information that you obtained, it's part of your discussion.
Okay.
So, I mean, like, if you reach out to somebody and they're answered, you're just like, I'm not going to present this person. You don't need to share that unless you want to. Or if somebody else nominates and you say, well, I got this. You guys know how to have discussions. I am going to take some time over the next week to figure out how I'm going to help us organize this so that we're efficient and productive, and we remain positive about this whole process. So I will take that on myself. I'll research. I'm sure there's something out there that says how to do this properly.
Can I just, one last thought I had. So if a person didn't speak tonight, they are no longer under consideration. Is that right?
I would view them as not being under consideration anymore.
Well, I'd like to know.
So the ones who didn't show up.
Yes. Have they removed themselves from consideration by not being here?
Caitlin Fahey-Pearl withdrew on 7/19. I wanted to make sure that she didn't show up, which is why I asked. Lynn LaHaro obviously didn't show up. Harry Meehan wasn't present. Susan Rack also didn't show up. Peter Uliano and Rhonda Vitegliano. So if your numbers, it's 4, 11, 13, 17, 21, and 22 on the list.
So, I mean, I don't know that we need a motion, but I would suggest that if people didn't notify us and then also didn't come, to me, that's a statement that they're not interested at this point.
I thought when we were talking about the process a couple of weeks ago, that we made it pretty clear that it was the people needed to show up tonight, that it
Oh,
was
yeah.
their opportunity to talk to us and to come to let us know them a little bit for
yes.
3 to 5 minutes.
But
So I thought we were pretty clear on that.
Yeah, I think so.
And everybody's invited next week.
Sure. Have a
Here,
party.
6 p.m.
Yep.
It's kind of exciting to have an audience again.
Bring hats and balloons. Okay, so I am looking for a.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, ladies. On the motion to adjourn, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, everybody. Meeting is adjourned at 7:42. I bet the sun's still out.
Oh, that would be nice.